Last year, I stood here and I described the Prescott Bush Dinner Awards as something that I like to think of as an investment meeting where I have to report to the shareholders. And what I can report in 2016, we had a great year. Back in 2016, we all thought it was once in a lifetime, that presidential cycle was just something we'd never see again or it would never happen again. But I'm here to tell you, and for anyone who's listening, anyone out there, it is not once in a lifetime for the Connecticut Republican Party. We're going to be victorious in 2018, and it's because of the people in this room. Now, if you bear with me for a moment, I'd like anyone that won in 2016 to please stand. Please stand. All the senators, state reps, let's go. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you. Thank you for the effort and energy you've put in. And thank you for the fight that you've taken to Hartford. Because for those that don't know, Friday was a historic moment for us. It was the first time in more than 30 years that a Republican budget passed both the House and the Senate, and these people deserve a huge round of applause. Now, what I thought of doing was bringing up House Leader Themis Klarides and Senate Leader Len Fasano just to talk briefly about what that experience was, to give insight to those of us who watched in awe in what they accomplished. So, Senator, Representative Klarides, if you could join me on stage. Relax, you guys have been pulling going home at 3 a.m. You can sit down, it's okay. So I guess the first question I have, and Themis, we'll start with you. Now that the Republicans are closer to being on equal footing, what's the culture been in Hartford in terms of negotiation?
Well, JR, I feel a need to just do a little follow-up on what you did, and I'm glad you called everyone's attention to all our great senators and representatives we have, but I also want any staff we have in the room to please stand, and I want you to give them a great round of applause because we can't do this without them. Thank you. You know, Len and I have been very fortunate. We got elected as leader at the same time 3 years ago. We've been working together as a great team, both of our caucuses. And I think, what is it like? It's awesome, right? It is amazing when you ask people, or people ask you, why is it taking them so long to get a budget? The answer is not because we have a $5.1 billion deficit. The answer is, for 49 of the past 51 years, the Democrats have had control of the House and Senate, regardless of who the governor was. And except for 1 year, one term in '84 and one term in the early '90s in the Senate, they have been making those decisions. And to JR's point, there hasn't been a Republican budget since '84, I think, when the Republicans had control of the House. The difference is they had the majority in the House. So what our caucuses have done for us, for you, and for the state this year is just second to none, and I couldn't be more proud.
Now, my hope is that we are going to have the majority in the House. We're this close this year, but I think in 2018 we're going to change that. Len, how has it been different? Because you're tied in the Senate. What's been different for you?
We are tied in the Senate, and this year we were able to block a lot of things right out of the box. We reached a power share agreement. Senator Looney I've known for over 30 years, and we were able to reach an agreement that I think kept power and sanity in the Senate. But I saw a change in the chamber. For the first time, the Democrats couldn't be positive that what they put out was going to get over the finish line. And I think the miscalculation on the budget in the Senate was that the people in power in the Senate believed that their budget document was going to come out and they didn't have to talk to a soul, and they could run it like they've run it for the past 40 years and jam it down the throat. And I think there were enough Democrats who said, no more. We are on a different course. We need a different path. And they came over and joined us. And I think the second biggest difference was Representative Klarides and I keeping our caucuses tight, having a unified budget, bringing the ideas together, and where they were separated and apart, we were together enforcing and pushing, and we were able to get our message over the finish line, and that's because of the caucuses that we had.
Themis, being so close in the House, I'm curious, going into 2018, where do you think the likelihood, and I know you know the numbers, where do you think the likelihood that we are going to take the majority in terms of where we see pickups?
Well, I believe deep in my gut that the House, the Senate, and the governor's office will be ours in 2018. And I believe that for a few reasons. Number one, we have the better ideas, we have the better message, and we have a vision for the future of Connecticut, not a vision for the Connecticut of a month from now or 2 months from now when we stick gum in a hole, and by we I mean the Democrats. Stick gum in a hole to fix the problems so they can go home for the summer and enjoy themselves. That is not budgeting, that is not leading, and that's not what Senator Fasano and I have as our vision for the state of Connecticut. We have to have the courage to make the difficult decisions. Let me say this. This budget that we passed on Saturday has tough stuff in it, guys. There are things people are very upset about. We've been defending that for days now. We'll continue to. But with a $5 billion deficit and a state that has been falling apart at the seams under bad leadership for years, this is not going to take 2 years to fix. But it's got to start now. And it's got to start with people that have courage, and people are not afraid of their next election, and people that will make structural changes. I always talk about you just put $1 million into your driveway and $2 million into the new this and the new that, but the foundation is crumbling. We have been crumbling for years, guys, and I don't care how pretty it looks on the outside. If we don't fix that foundation, we are not going anywhere, and this is the beginning of fixing that foundation.
Senator, what do you think? You think you'll take the Senate next year?
As I said, we are tied. I think there's going to be a few open seats that we're going to target, and then there's some other seats that I think are vulnerable. And we got one hell of a Republican Party going into 2018, and we are going to take the governor, and we are going to take the legislature, and we are going to move Connecticut in a totally different and right direction.
Now, one final question, and I think everyone in the room knows the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you think Governor Malloy will do the right thing and pass the budget that you guys have put forward?
I think Governor Malloy's definition of the right thing and our definition are different to start. But as a friend of mine likes to say, he is a non-collaborative governor. I have other words for him and other names that I can't use today. But most of you have probably heard the words I've used to describe him and other people. You know, I have to, in all seriousness, I have to say this about Governor Malloy. I respect his work ethic. I respect he believes in what he believes in. Here's the problem. You want to be governor of a state, you have to, by definition, work with a legislature. And we have this great thing called democracy. And with that democracy, we know that a governor cannot do anything without the House and Senate agreeing. And although we all have this disdain for the governor, his leadership ability, his policies, etc., we know that no matter how great a governor is and how much control a governor has, the buck stops with the House and the Senate. And that's why we're in this situation, not because of what Dan Malloy tells you every day. We had 20 years of Republican governors. It's because we've had over 40 years of Democrat legislatures. He doesn't know how to run it. He doesn't know how to lead it. And we have shown on Friday into Saturday that we know what that vision for the state of Connecticut is, and we're not afraid to put it forward.
So I view this as a win-win, and here's why. The Democrats have said, in their audacity and arrogance, that their budget was going to pass, that unless you vote for the Democrat budget, you are agreeing to allow the governor's October 1st draconian cuts to go into place. So you have to agree with our budget, or you have approved his cuts, which nobody likes. Well, our budget just passed. If Governor Malloy vetoes that budget, we're going to be saying to the Democratic majority, you need to override his veto. If you don't, his cuts that you call draconian and you didn't want to see happen are going to play. So the same argument you made to us a week ago, we're telling you, you need to override it. And if they don't, let them carry that into 2018. And if they do, we've got the power.
I want to thank, honestly, from this entire room and from all the corners of the state of Connecticut, I want to thank the two of you for what you've done and what you've put forward. We couldn't be prouder. And I know that you guys have worked for many years in the legislature, and I just cannot thank you enough. This year has been amazing because of you two. So I just want to thank you for that.
I know that one last thing. I know that John McKinney couldn't be here tonight. He's out of the country, but we wanted to thank John and Larry Cafaro for all the amazing work they did in helping set this up and
Stand up, Larry. Stand up.